Well, that was an amazing game. Oklahoma City survives the best effort you could have gotten from everybody from the Timberwolves, not named Julius Randle. We'll get to that in a minute. But OKC goes up 3-1. We know how this works. Going back to Oklahoma City for game 5, this series should be over. Unless something crazy happens, this series is a done deal. Oklahoma City should be moving on to the finals. Minnesota put up a very valiant effort. If you look at it stat-wise, I mean, we talk about the big four here that ESPN always provides. Minnesota was the better three-point shooting team, barely, but technically. Same thing with field goal percentage. Won the rebounding battle, but when you have 23 turnovers, you're not going to win a Western Conference Finals game with 23 turnovers. It doesn't matter how good you play, that's not going to happen. And you look at how Minnesota came into this, they played well. I think that's the thing that's going to rub Minnesota fans the wrong way about game 4 here, is everybody played well except for Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards. Your two main guys who are supposed to step up just could not get it done tonight. And Oklahoma City brought their A game and was able to hold on for the win.
Yeah, SGA had a MVP performance, 40 points, 9 boards, 10 assists, near triple-double. Jalen Williams had a great game. So when those two are going, and then you factor in Julius Randle, like I said, just he wasn't there. He wasn't existing tonight. And the Thunder did a really, really good job on Anthony Edwards in the first half. Said, hey, if somebody's going to beat us, it ain't going to be you. Factor in Chet goes for 21 and 7 for Oklahoma City. They got the big contributors rolling. Minnesota did not.
They did. I mean, J-Dub played, I don't want to say the game of the postseason for him, but that felt like it. I mean, the way the way he started the game, it kind of went, okay, he is locked in today. This is going to be the best version of the Thunder you could possibly get. When your big three are rolling, everyone's providing key minutes. Caruso does his thing. Cason Wallace, I thought, had a good performance. You look at 3 for 9 and say, well, is that really that good? The defense he provides makes up for that. Kenrich Williams out of nowhere with 12 minutes again tonight. No Aaron Wiggins seen anywhere. And Kenrich Williams was serviceable. And that's what you need for your 9th guy off the bench, is just serviceable. And that's what he was able to provide. But we got to talk about this a little bit for Minnesota, because this was the game for your guys. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 9 for 15, 23 points. Dante DiVincenzo, 5 threes as well, 7 for 11, 21 points. Jaden McDaniels had a great game as well, 22. It bothers me that this is the second time now this series where Julius Randle has just gone MIA. He is just, I don't know where he went to. He gets played off the floor late in the game. There was nowhere for him to go. And this goes all the way back to when Minnesota made this trade. You think about what happened yesterday in Pacers-Knicks, and you think about what happened tonight. That was something that conversation all the way back a long time ago in the summer going into this. And that was the one thing I worried about in Minnesota, that if they got back in a situation like this, would Julius Randle help them or would he hurt them? He's helped them a lot this season. There's no doubt about that. But in this series, he has definitely been a net negative. And I think that's easy to say.
Yeah, and that's going to be disappointing for Minnesota fans. And, you mentioned it at the top where everybody else besides Randle and Anthony Edwards had the start you wanted them to in this game, right? The bench was carrying Minnesota in that first half, making sure they stayed in the game, really. And then you get to that third quarter, Ant starts to wake up finally. Timberwolves make a run, but here's what I love to see from the Thunder side of it. During that stretch where, Minnesota is coming with that momentum, they bring the game back, try to threaten to take the lead, get over the top. OKC had an answer just about every single time. And so that, to me, we talk about growth with this young team, right? They're still a young team, I know, 6 to 8 wins, all that. They shouldn't get that excuse. But to see them on the road tackle that moment, that's huge.
It was. It was absolutely impressive to see. It really was. There were moments in this game. I think the best example was late third quarter. Minnesota had finally tied the game. It had not been a tied game in forever. And what did the Thunder do? Quick bucket, just immediately get it right back to a 7-point game. It felt like all night Minnesota could tie the game or get within 1 or 2, but there was always that sinking feeling that they're not going to win this game. They're going to get close, but they're not going to win it. And then you get the prayer of all prayers. SGA misses a free throw, only one of his 2 misses on the night, very rare for him. You get this opportunity and you can't get anything going. You can't get that opportunity. You settle for the 2s, which I get playing that out. Oklahoma City wants to play the foul game where you change it from 3 to 1 and basically make Minnesota have to intentionally miss a free throw. And then SGA throws it out of bounds, which he's not trying to throw it out of bounds. He's just trying to throw it out and beat the clock. And I want to ramble about this for a moment. Not that I think this would have changed the game in any way, because Minnesota's play out was just chuck it into the paint and pray that Rudy Gobert could catch it. But I don't understand how the ball goes out at point 1. It gets caught by a fan. We see the replay, and the fan clearly catches it, who looks like he's in his lane. He's where he's supposed to be. He's on the sidelines. You look up at the clock, it says 0.6. The refs don't want to review it. Then they finally talk about it and say, okay, 0.3. Do refs not know how? That could honestly be the problem people have with the officials. If they just don't know how to count, do we need to have IQ tests for NBA? Can you count and look at a timer and tell me what the number is? Because that might honestly be. People were mad about SGA 12 for 14 for the free. If the officials can't count, how could we expect them to tell what's an arm and what's not? I mean, what reality are we living in? It blew my mind watching that, because I was like, Minnesota should, not that I thought Minnesota was going to get a good look, but Minnesota was like, okay, they're going to have a shot with this. And then they're like, no, it's 0.1. I was like, so we're just going to deny Minnesota an opportunity. And then, okay, 0.3, which you could technically do something with that, but it's, still very small chance. 0.6, you have something. You can do something with 0.6. You could barely do anything with 0.3. I just thought that was a weird end of the game moment where it was a very anticlimactic ending, and that's what you want if you're Oklahoma City. That's why people get mad about it, but you play that foul out situation where you don't want to give the other team the opportunity to shoot for 3. It makes a lot of people mad, but it's the analytics of the deal. It usually, unless you start missing free throws yourself, works in your favor. Oklahoma City fans know all about that from game 1 against Denver, but it was a weird ending. It was a very anticlimactic ending, and then it got really hyped for a moment, and then the refs just didn't know how to count, and then the game ended. It was a very weird ending.
Unfortunate for Minnesota fans. Great for Thunder fans, and now, like I said, boy, you got to go home and clinch this, right? You have to. You can't let Minnesota come into OKC and steal a game.
Absolutely. With all the hype that will be going on, it's game 5. You've just got to put your foot down and end this thing. You're back with your home crowd behind you. That will make a little bit of a factor. We always talk about that, but it really does in the playoffs. And I'm excited to see how Minnesota tries to adjust again, like Terrence Shannon Jr. We saw him show up again, 8 minutes, 9 points. He's going to be a factor in game 5. He has to be. I want to see how Julius Randle and Ant respond. I really do. Ant tried to get something going in the second half. I'll give him credit. He started trying to drive inside, but he kept trying to get those threes. And at some point, you just feel like you got to stop forcing it and go inside. You got to find a way to either draw a foul or just attack one of Hartenstein or Chet, whoever you want to really go after. I think you would choose Hartenstein of the two, but it was just weird to see him play so passive. When you look at that halftime, when they cut to halftime, you see Anthony Edwards 2 shots. That should never look right for a player of his caliber, or what we want him to be, a player of that caliber. If he wants to be a top 5 in the league guy, if he wants to try to will Minnesota to wins, you can't have 2 shots in the first half of game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. You just can't. I get that Oklahoma City's defense is putting pressure on him, and I get that. That is part of it. Not trying to say he should just, be better than the defense. I'm not going to be that silly, but you got to find a way to get something going for your best player.
You do, but he's been in a kind of weird spot. We've seen this a couple times now from him where he wanes between wanting to be that guy, right? So it just says, hey, clear out, I've got this. And trying to balance that with, well, I got to get my other guys going too. I think he has that self-awareness to say, hey, I'm not going to be Kobe selfish to where nobody's getting shots. but he sometimes struggles trying to find the right balance of when to take over. You see flashes of it, and that's when he's at his best, when he's able to kind of ride that line a bit. And once he masters that skill, that's when Ant's going to become really, really scary.
I agree with that. There were moments in the fourth where you could see he had a few, okay, I'm just going to drive inside. I know I'm going to get this layup. No one's stopping me. And then he would go back away from it, which again, I get when everyone else is hitting for three. I get that. But there are a few moments where it's just, okay, you get those weird, okay, I'm kind of open. I'm gonna chuck it. I'm 1 for 5 on the day, but I'm gonna chuck it from deep and see what happens. And then that leads me to the other problem with Minnesota that they had tonight. And this is a very weird thing to say, considering they had 41 rebounds compared to OKC's 36. As you look at the offensive rebound side, it was even there, 19-19. And there were moments early on in the game where Oklahoma City was able to get away with this a little bit, where Rudy Gobert would get exhausted from having to go out and defend, and then you'd watch him stand there. The rebound would just bounce right by him and shatter Hartenstein, or it would get tapped out to somebody. There were moments where Minnesota just could not hold on to the ball. And you're not going to win games when that happens. Oklahoma City was just able to out-hustle them at times. They got a little bit better in the second half, and I mean a little bit better. But there were some moments where it's just, Rudy Gobert playing good defense, but what are you doing, man? The rebound's 2 inches away from you. Go make a play on the ball.
Yeah.
It's just, it's got to be.
Have that rebound.
Yeah, it has just got to be frustrating for Minnesota fans to have a game where your entire bench shows up. I mean, if you combine the bench points here, I mean, 11 plus 21, that's 32. You add a 9 in there, that's 40. 64 bench points. There you go. There's quick math for you. 64 points comes from your bench. That's half your points in this game, basically. A little over half, technically. That has got to be one of the worst feelings in the world, knowing that we lost because our best two guys, not because, our 9th or 8th man didn't play great, but because our number 1 and number 2 did not show up to the most pivotal game of the season. And if you're the Thunder, of course, you're happy to take advantage of that and say, hey, we can lock these guys down. We feel pretty confident now. Julius Randle might have got all the threes out of his system in game 1. We feel pretty good about where we're going back home to close this thing out.
Yeah, just a really good sign of maturity again for Oklahoma City to bounce back from what you'd probably fairly termed as an embarrassment, right? Come out so flat in Minnesota in game 3 and lose the way you did, to come back tonight, show the fight, and keep your composure down the stretch when you need crucial baskets, whether it's SGA, whether it's Jalen, whether it's Chet, you name it. Those guys were all contributing to that. So that is a big leap for Oklahoma City in that sense. But now here's the next test. Can you put the foot down and finish it off?
That's going to be the test. We are going to have to see how that plays out in game 5. It's going to be fun. We'll be here to recap it once game 5 ends. But folks, as always, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to always be notified when new videos come out, and leave a comment down below. What are your takeaways from game 4 here? How long can Minnesota hold on? Can they even make a stand in game 5, or is Oklahoma City going to get the job done? Will Julius Randle score more than 10 points in game 5? Will SGA shoot 20 free throws or 5? I don't know. That was a fun discourse on Twitter once again today. People are just, that's not going away for a decade. We're going to deal with that. It's going to be great every single playoffs. People are definitely not going to get tired of that at all. It's even blended to the ESPN broadcast now. But that's another video for another day. I'm not going to get too caught on it now. But of course, if you're listening on Spotify as well, leave a 5-star review there. And folks, until next time, have a good one, everybody.